We're going to make the door handle. In object mode, we're going to go to create and we're going to choose plane. We're going to tab into edit mode, do R, Y, and then 90 and press enter. We're going to bring this over on the X axis to be closer to the side of the door. Then we can do 3 to go to side view, Z for wireframe, S to scale this down, and we can use G to position this closer to where the door handle is according to our reference. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit and I'm going to also scale this down a bit more to be closer to the reference image size. This is part of the door handle we're going to start with, so we're going to position this over here. We're going to switch to vertex select and select these two vertices, do S and then Z, and scale them down on the Z axis. I'm also going to take these two vertices and just scale them down a bit, so just use S and then bring them in a bit on the Y axis. And I'm going to do A twice to select everything and then E to extrude, right click to cancel. I'm going to use period to focus in on this. So period on the number pad, that'll focus in on your selection, and I'm just going to bring this out a bit on the X axis. Then we want to rotate this on the Z axis by 45 degrees, so we're going to do R, Z, and then 45 and press enter. And I'm going to bring this in this direction on the Y axis as well. Bring it a little bit further on the Y axis, then do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and then bring this over. I'm going to do 7 to go to top view, Z for wireframe. I'm going to select this vertex by right clicking it, B to box select, left click and drag to select this area so we get both vertices. Grab them on the Y axis, hold control and snap it here. Then I'm going to do B to box select and get this one again. I'm going to do 3 to go to side view, and we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring this out a bit more. I'll bring it out a bit further than that, and I'm going to do Z to get out of wireframe. I want to make these 2 points a bit wider, so I'm going to select these two and then do S and then Z and scale it out on Z axis to be a little bit wider. You want it to be a little bit less wide than the one that's on the outside, so that looks pretty good. Then we're going to do Control R, left click and drag this over a bit, and again I'm going to select the vertices in the center, and then I'm going to do S and Z and scale this out a bit. I'm going to do Alt right click and I'm going to actually bring these over on the Y axis a bit. I think these edges might be a little close to each other, so I'm going to switch to edge select. I'm going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, and then we want to just deselect these other edges that are over here that we don't want to move. I'm going to do Z for wireframe, B to box select, middle mouse deselect, and deselect these edges right here. If you need to, just manually hold shift and right click to deselect these two. Then you can do S and Z and then just scale these out, and that'll increase the distance between these two edges. Now we're going to go to this side. We're going to select this edge right here. We're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring it out on the Y axis. Then we want to do S and Z to scale this down on the Z axis. I'm going to bring it out a little bit more. We're going to do Control R, left click and drag this out a little bit. Left click again, then do S and Z and scale this out some. Now that we have that, we're going to switch to face select. We're going to select these two faces. We're going to have to go to the back side and select these two faces as well. So just do Z for wireframe and get the faces that are on the back side here. If you need to, you can tab into object mode, right click to select the car, do H to hide it, then go back to this object, tab into edit mode, and you can more easily select the faces on the back. Now we're just going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, bring it back on the X axis. Then to make sure these faces and this face are all at the same X value, I'm going to hold shift and select this one. Then I'm going to do F and then 0 and press enter, and that'll just make sure they're at the same exact X value. At this point, if you need to, you can adjust the X value to make more or less space between what would be the car and this part of the door handle. So just adjust it to make sure that you have enough space for someone's hand to get into this area. So something like that's probably going to be fine. Then we're going to want to switch back to edge select. When we did that extrusion, we actually got rid of the faces on top here, but we want to get those back. So we're just going to select this edge right here and then press F twice to fill in this area on the top. Now we want to make this button that goes right here. To do that, we want to go to face select and then select this face because this is the face that the button is centered on. We're going to do Shift S and cursor to selected. Then we're going to go to create and choose a circle. I'm going to change my vertices to 5 and press enter. Then we're going to do R, Y, 90 and press enter. Then do S and scale this down quite a bit until it matches the size that we need. Then we're going to switch to vertex select. We're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel. I'm going to bring this out maybe a little bit further than this part right here. Then I'm going to do E to extrude again, right click to cancel, scale it down. Then E to extrude, right click to cancel, Alt M and choose at center to merge it at the center. And then I'm just going to bring it back this way to kind of create that concave effect like it has. Then we're going to do Control L and Control N to recalculate the normal. And lastly, we want to create the little ridges that go around both this bottom part and this bottom part. So to do that, we're just going to do Control R, left click. We're going to do E, and the red dot should be on the bottom, so it should be on one of these bottom vertices. That's how you know you're doing it correctly in this case, because that'll make sure that our new edge is parallel to this bottom edge, which is what we want. You can see if we don't do that, it's kind of more of an angled edge. We want it to be a straight edge, so you can see the difference if you hit E a couple times. We want it to be more of a straight edge like this. So the red dot should be on one of these bottom vertices. Then we're just going to go to about here and then just left click. And we'll do the same over here, do Control R. This time you don't have to do E, you can just do Control R and try to make it the same distance as what is right here. Once that's done, you're going to go to face select. You're going to do Alt and right click to select this edge loop. Alt and Shift and right click to select this edge loop. Then we're just going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and we'll do Alt F, and that's going to do shrink fatten. And we're going to make it so that we have a little bit of space here. So you can just do Alt S again if you need to. You can hold Shift to move more slowly and then just go until you have the distance that you want. The last thing to do is to add in smooth shading, and then we're also going to have to add in a bevel modifier to make this look a bit better. I'm going to tab into object mode, go to tools, and turn on smooth shading. I'm going to do Alt H to unhide the car at this point, and then I'm just going to select the door handle again, so just right click on it. We're going to go to add modifier and choose bevel. I'm also going to get rid of this cursor so it's not in the way, so I'm going to do Shift F and then cursor to center. You'll see it does look a bit better now, but it doesn't look exactly the way we want it. It has some bevels in areas we don't really need them, like on this edge loop right here. So instead of doing limit method of none, we're going to choose weight, and we're going to tab into edit mode, and now we can add in bevels where we want them. We're going to switch to edge select. We're going to Alt right click here, Alt and Shift right click, and then we're going to select this edge right here. Then we can do Control E, edge bevel weight, go till it says 1, and then left click. Then we're going to go to this side, and we're going to select these edges here, and then do the same over here. Just select these edges, do Control E, edge bevel weight, go till it says 1, and left click. Then we're going to select the edges on the bottom here, so I'm going to select these 3, and you can do the same on the other side. Just select these 3, and you can also select this bottom edge here and this other bottom edge here, and then do Control E, edge bevel weight, go till it says 1, left click. Then we're going to get some of these bottom edges, so we're going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, Alt and Shift right click here, Alt and Shift right click here, and you could even do these bottom ones here too if you wanted to. Just Alt and Shift right click those as well. Control E, edge bevel weight, and this time you might not want to go till it says 1. Just go until the shading improves. So you probably want to do a little bit of a bevel, but not too much here. Then just left click when it looks nice. And I think the last ones we need to do are these top ones here. So we're just going to Alt right click, Alt and Shift right click, Control E, edge bevel weight. Again, you may not want to go till it says 1. So just go until you have a value that you like, and then left click. My door handle actually looks quite a bit too big. So what I'm going to do is go to edit mode, do A twice, and I'm just going to do F, scale it down, and that'll make it a little bit smaller. What I might want to do is make mine a little bit longer in this direction, so I can just select the vertices on this side. I'm going to select one, B to box select, get the rest, and you can actually just make it a little bit longer, just so there's more space in here for your hand to go in there. So you can scale it with S, or you can adjust the length of it and stuff like that if you need to, until you get a door handle that you're happy with. One thing that I did to kind of line it up is just go to side view by pressing 3, make sure you're in edit mode, and then do Z for wireframe. You can do A twice to select all of it, and you can just move it with the arrows to get it into position. So I kind of lined it up to where the reference is so that it's closer to where the reference says it's supposed to be. Then you can scale it as well if you feel it needs to be bigger or smaller by using F. Then what you might want to do for one last step is you might want to just position it closer to the car itself. So you just kind of get an angle on the car and just kind of look at this look for when the door handle actually start to meet up with the car. You can see it kind of meeting up with the car right here, and that's kind of when you know you have it in position, is when it gets nice and close to the car. Another thing you may want to do once you're finally finished with everything is just rotate it a bit on the y-axis, because it does have a bit of an upward angle from the reference as far as I can tell. So what you may want to do is do R and then Y and just kind of rotate it up a bit, and you'll see it actually matches up with the curvature of the car better as well. So I do believe that this is the way that it is in the real thing, so you may want to add a little rotation to it in the Y direction. Then once you're happy with it, as always, you're just going to go to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.